Right, everybody, welcome to the seventh episode of the Croatian Sensation podcast, and I'm here with former Mr. Olympic competitor Josh Wade. How are we doing?
I'm doing great, Lorenzo. I appreciate you having me. I know you've been following bodybuilding a long time, so I can appreciate your constructive criticism, the critiques that you've given. I pretty much agree with the majority of how you've called shows in the past. So I'm happy to be on your show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot actually, because I was going back and forth with pros and amateurs alike. Some people are more sensitive, some people are less sensitive to criticism. You actually handle criticism pretty well. So where does that come from?
Well, I think anytime you handle criticism, it always comes from confidence. I don't care what anybody else really says about me for multiple reasons. For one, whatever knocks they have, I can't fucking control. If they want to talk about, oh, my insertions of this or my insertions of that, it's like, well, fuck, I can't control that shit. So why get mad about it, And as far as critiquing genetic makeup, but not to mention, I'm happy in life. So I think number one, if you're happy in life, people can say whatever they want to. Most of the time it's because they're unhappy with their own fucking life. So for myself, I'm very happy with my life. I'm blessed to have a great family, great kids, great supportive people around me. So I try to stay as positive as possible for that reason. I'd rather try to lift somebody up than knock them down. You want to critique me on maybe the way that I come in or whatever? Hey, I'll take constructive criticism by all means. But don't think I can't see it myself and I can't work to try to bring up areas I need to work on. But if I have a genetic makeup that I have different type of insertions than somebody else, well, fuck, what can I do about that? So, that's why I say, I always say, don't stress about the things you can't control. So, what else is there?
Yeah, and I think those people, I know for myself, the more I work, the more I care about the talk, like around me, the chatter, so maybe it's just you being busy all the time is what keeps you like positive and going and
Yeah,
maybe not.
exactly. I don't have time to think about the negativity because I'm staying positive and I'm trying to help others accomplish things in their life. And then when I go home, I'm on daddy duty and I want to spend enjoyable time, not have negative thoughts in my head about what somebody said about my physique, which obviously the majority of the time we know if we're here, they're here. So it's like, okay, what duty really, what justice do they have to even speak on that? So like, I want to turn it all off when I go home and spend quality time. I want to be present as a father and not be in my own head about other things that, again, I can't control.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that when you critique a physique, like you can't tell someone like 5 days out of the show, like even if you have a weakness, like you can't change it like 2 weeks out. Like,
Right.
oh, Josh has a weak, I don't know, outer sweep. Like, what can you really do about it at 2 weeks out? Like, the only thing that you can control is your midsection, your posing, and your conditioning.
100% agree.
And like, okay, if somebody said, oh, he's a little off, but nobody's saying that, so you should be happy.
Well, I know what I can control. I'm willing to work hard for what I can't control.
Yeah.
Conditioning is always within our control. You suffer, you feel like shit. And then, you get to the end of it, you start getting a little bit more food in there, you start backing off cardio, you start feeling better at the end. And that's how it should be. You should be ready early so that way you can start feeling better towards the show. And that's what we've always done.
So, well, now that you touched up on suffering, do you need to suffer a lot to get in shape still, or can you allow yourself to eat a little bit more? Like, what do you do to come in
Well, it's
ready?
not always enjoyable. There's plenty of weeks that are not enjoyable, especially with the hours I work. Okay, it'd be different. I'm up at 3:40 in the morning, and I don't get home from work normally until 5:15, and then I try to get to bed by 9. I'm up at 3:40, so I get like 6.5 hours sleep. And when you're running on low calories, obviously your body is going to be a little fatigued. But when you get closer to the end, and for one, I mean, you know me, I get down to very minuscule amount of body fat. So obviously body fat is a stored form of energy. And that's for slow acting energy. I'm on my feet all day training clients. I own a gym. I'm a personal trainer. I own, operate it. So when your body fat levels get low, you're exhausted on your feet because you don't have slow fat acting energy. Well, obviously when you're prepping for a show, most of the time your dietary fat is significantly increased or decreased as well. So with dietary fat decreased, you don't have that slow acting energy to move around during the day. So with no body fat, no dietary fat, your slow acting energy when your body fat levels get down to minuscule levels is pretty much none. But I still have carbohydrates during my workout. So my training never suffers. So during my training, I'm alert, I'm good, I'm strong, I'm energetic. But the rest of the day, yeah, I mean, because when body fat levels get low, basically there's hardly any energy and you're pretty much asleep on your feet, but you have to function. So I try to operate like a machine. I have to do what I have to do. So I'm going to make sure that I get it done. It might not be enjoyable. So yes, I still have to suffer. I do. It's uncomfortable the amount of hours that I'm on my feet with no energy. You know, can I handle more food because I stay in better shape in the off season and I have more muscle now? Yes, but not much more than the majority of my clients that might be 70 pounds less than me. I still get down to small food levels. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, some meals with no rice, some meals with half cup rice, but the majority of my carbohydrates will still stay pre, intra, and post workout, which we'll talk about because everybody knows I work with John Meadows and John is huge on the intra workout nutrition. So I'll tell you why my workouts are pretty powerful. Obviously the All Max supplements is primarily what I lean towards. That's my sponsor. And they make great products, but so the rest of the day, energy's levels low, but we definitely focus on making sure that the workouts never suffer because obviously you lose muscle if the workout starts suffering. So workouts have to be tough. And then the rest is, I mean, once body fat levels get down, we know it's hard to think, you know, I mean, you do have a brain fog. And I still have to diet down. I still have to reduce carbs down to like the majority of everybody else out there because that's what it takes to reach the level. The positive side for that though, is because I have such dense muscle tissue after over 20 years of beating the shit out of it, even when I'm technically flat, I still have that density. So I might be low carbs, I might be flat, but you might not even tell I'm very flat because I'm not full of water, like a water balloon. My muscle is solid density. So that's the difference in guys that have trained for a long period of time and guys that basically just fill up their muscle pretty much on glycogen, which is not me.
Yeah. So you touched up on a lot of things, so I'm gonna try to break them down one by one.
Sorry.
So first thing first, let's talk about numbers. Like people like numbers. So when you say you get down to low calories, like I like macros. I don't like calories because calories are, in my opinion, pretty useless in that regard. So do you know your macronutrients? Like what are you eating like on a training day and a rest day? Is it like, do you have a number in mind or is it always interchangeable?
Well, training day, yeah, normally I'm about 350 grams of protein. And that stays pretty consistent. I don't really change my protein on training days or non-training days. The only thing that really gets changed is carbohydrates. I don't really I keep dietary fat pretty low almost all the time, unless I'm in the off season and my carbs get.
How low?
Dietary fat is under 10% of my calories. So under 10%. Basically all my dietary fat pretty much comes from, I do 2 6-ounce 96 4-ground beef meals. The rest is basically pretty much chip breast. Yeah. So I don't have any fats. That's why I think without the dietary fat, your body will use more body fat. That's why I get so lean. So basically, I mean, I think I'm pretty much about 350 grams of protein daily, which is, 1,400 calories. My total fats are around 35. About 35 grams a day. That's it.
That's low.
That's low. No, actually, I'll start up the computer in the background while we're working. But basically, so that's pretty much 1,715 calories, 1,400 from my protein, 350 calories from my fats. And on training days, my carbs, they've increased just recently because I've already gotten ready. Now I want to try to stay a little fuller. But my carbohydrates got down to 140, 190, about 230 grams of carbs, which I know be like, oh, wow, I get 230 grams of carbs.
No,
but the majority of it is pre, intra, and post in powders.
It's not just that. It's like you're 250 pounds in shape. Like when you're 250, like 200 grams of carbs is basically, in my opinion, nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when the majority, I mean, so what I had in the food carbs at that point, so my calories got down to about 2,635 calories, and that's on a training day. Pretty low.
Very low. That's very low.
My food carbohydrates, I had half a cup of oatmeal in the morning. Then my second meal, I had 1 cup of rice. And then my third meal, I had a half cup of rice. And my fourth meal, I had a half cup of rice. And then my last 2 meals were just meat and veggies. So really, I mean, I had total food carbohydrates, 2 cups of rice, two cooked cups of rice, and a half cup of oatmeal. That was all my food carbs for many weeks. And I actually went into I believe I went into ketosis last week because I burnt through all my carbs, and that's never happened to me. I had a weird feeling that I had never felt before, and I was peeing every 45 minutes because my body had no carbs to hold any fluid in. So I was just expelling. I didn't sleep for like 3 nights and didn't even realize what was really going on. And then until John was like, hey, dude, I need you to do a plus 500 today, add 100 grams of carbs to every meal. It took a day and a half, and I got out of it. And then I started finally feeling like I could see again. It was suffering. Yeah, it was the true meaning. But again, it's our choice. So like, I don't want people to think I'm complaining, because it's my choice to get ready for a competition. It's my choice to get this shredded, make every sacrifice through diet, feel like shit to get there, to come in the condition that I come in. It's my choice. So I don't want anyone to think I'm bitching and complaining, or I will let anybody else, like, my family, suffer for anything I do. This is my choice. I bring it upon myself. And so I will stand by that and just know that, I mean, I'm not bitching and complaining. I know what it takes, and I'm willing to go there.
That's like, I'm proud of you. That's like a perfect mentality to have, in my opinion. Like, it's so good to hear, because like most guys, they're either gonna bitch or complain, or they're not gonna suffer. Like, I've seen,
Right.
I'm not gonna name names, but I've seen some guys complaining about eating cold chicken and rice 2 days out of the Olympia. What are you talking about? Like, it's the fucking Olympia, and he's a contender, So it's like, I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, I can eat that in off. I'm sure you're the same. You're probably eating clean all off season long as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the time, I enjoy my food. My wife cooks all my food. I give her mad credit. She is the best, most supportive partner you can have in life, okay? Other people, you can have as supportive a partner, but I do not believe you can have more supportive of a partner than I have. She stands by me through everything. She prepares my food, weighs it to the gram. So, I mean, with that in mind, I love her food. So all I really want is bigger portions in the off season, because I really enjoy her food. It's chicken over rice, beef over rice, same seasoning I've used for the last 9 years. I'm a very simple individual, and to me, that's the easiest part of it. If you're, if you're simple, then you don't need a lot of things. I don't use sauces or marinades even in the off season. I don't use that sugar-free shit. I don't. I use Tony Chachery's Creole seasoning and garlic salt on all my meats, and my wife just cooks them and puts them right over cooked white jasmine rice, and that's how I eat it together, and I love it.
Yeah, but that's
so I'm very
that's
that way.
seasoning. That's, yeah, but that's seasoning. That's not a, that's a condiment. That's not a sauce.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really care about my sodium. I don't ever change my sodium. You can ask me about that if you like to when we lead into a show. I don't change my sodium year round. I don't change anything. I do the same seasoning on the same, my wife does it, but I eat the same seasoning all throughout. I don't cut the seasoning at the last couple of days. I don't have any sodium variables. I mean, I get ready, and once I'm ready, I don't fuck it up.
Yeah, because there are no variables changing. You just decrease your food or increase your food, and everything else stays the same. Like, where can you really screw up at that point? Like, it's impossible, especially when
It's
you're,
impossible, really,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Get ready. I mean, get ready. If you're not coming down, sorry. You got to increase cardio. You got to cut calories maybe a little bit harder. I mean, it is really not rocket science until you maybe get to the point where I got to, where you reach ketosis. You're like, what the hell's going on? And then you got to pull yourself out of it, which never happened to me in 14 years of competing. So that's why I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but I'm peeing every 45 minutes. I can't hold fluid in. I'm peeing all night. And come to find out, it took a day and a half, and then I was like, oh, I feel great now.
yeah, but that's also like a coaching call from John Meadows, who's probably, well, definitely one of the best coaches in the industry. So, you're working with John for how long?
I started with John September of 2015, so just over 5 years.
That's great. That's loyalty.
Well, I mean, again, I've been doing it long enough, Lorenzo. I know my body. I know what to do. I train clients as well. John is my voice of reason. John is my peer review. John is the one that has to tell me, okay, I think you need to back down the intensity a little bit. I don't need anybody to work harder. So he is my voice of reason when it comes to the point. It's like, all right, Josh, I think you need to back down the intensity a little bit. Calories aren't the same. I'm not going to recover the same. But I have that mindset, that just a blue collar, hardworking mindset of fucking give everything. I mean, work as hard as you can. And if you do, then you'll, like, my shirts say, outwork genetics. I mean, I'm not meant to be this. Everybody knows that. But I've changed my physique over the years just through hard work, dedication, and determination.
Yeah, and for sure. And when it comes to John and what you're doing right now, like I'm sure at the beginning he had more of a control what you do, but right now, do you just send him pictures and then he makes like he does suggestions, or does he, write out complete plans? Like, what's your
Well, for the
relationship?
most part, I've used some of John's training programs, which, I mean, for a lot of people out there that don't really have a training program, or that might get hard, they might get tired in the gym and they'll leave. A training program is very beneficial because it's structured to the amount of sets, to the amount of reps, to the shock techniques, whatever's on there. So, I mean, I've used them, but I mean, I'm a trainer. I train pretty instinctively, but I have a set routine that I like to do. I know when I'm working hard. I don't need somebody to tell me to work harder. But so, like, if you need a program, John Meadows programs are amazing when it comes to workout programs. I pretty much do the majority of my own workout programs, but I always use the same shock techniques, the partials, the iso holds, the drop sets, the intensifiers to make the exercise harder, especially last set. I do that. And I did get a lot of that from John. But as far as our program, like diet program and stuff, I have not changed basically my gear protocol in the 5 years I've been with John. So we don't even talk about that anymore. Very rarely will I even ask him, hey, should I drop this? It's been the same for 5 years because it fucking works. It doesn't have to go up or it doesn't have to go down. It's like, okay, you do it when you need to do it. And that's all you need it for, and with John, shit, am I going to run trim for fucking 8, 10, 12 weeks? Hell no. 4 weeks is enough. And I'm not going to talk a lot about it. But the whole thing is, if you're not hard enough, no matter how long you fucking take something, you're not going to get harder. You're just going to be more toxic. And I have a family. I believe in life after bodybuilding. And I understand that we do things that maybe not be the healthiest, but look at my lab work, ask 𝗤𝗛𝗓𝗏, John Meadows. My coronary calcium score test came back a 1. I have no plaque in my arteries. I'm going to die. I would be more likely to get struck by lightning than have a heart attack. And Dante's words itself. So, I mean, I'm very conscious of that. And as I think everybody should be, you cannot rush results. But I know I jumped off topic a little bit because you're talking about program. But, John, so we don't really even talk about, gear supplement usage because it's been the same. But as far as diet, yeah, when I send him pictures, he will reduce my diet down. He might be, I mean, dude, seriously, I'm so simple. He might be like, okay, let's pull half cup rice out of meal 5. That's it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my body goes the way it should be when you decrease calories.
But that's because you're in tune. You know, he knows that you're gonna do that, and he knows how you're gonna respond to that. And you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
like it just works, you know, like so that
John calls me a machine
yeah.
because I do exactly what I'm supposed to do. I operate like a machine. When it's time to turn it on, that machine turns on. You know, when it's time to slow it down, well, the machine might go into idle for a little while, but then it turns right back on. So
But
yeah, I mean, John calls me a machine because I don't have any problem sticking to the same food at the same time every day. You know, I mean, I do it for a purpose, but I still enjoy my purpose. I still enjoy it. You know, I enjoy the eating. I enjoy the clean eating. I love the training. So, I mean, it's not as hard as people make it seem, you
dude,
know?
some people like you don't even have to go to Africa. You can maybe somewhere in the States, people don't have to eat in a whole day as much as you have in one meal, even on a diet. So I think it's unfair to, you know, to critique a diet. You know, some people have nothing to eat the entire day, and here you are eating 6 meals. So even if you're suffering, you know, it's still you still have your food
By
on the
choice,
table
by
by
choice,
choice.
Lorenzo.
By choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's all about perspective, and I think you have a healthy perspective about the whole thing.
Yeah, I do. And I feel like I'm probably as balanced of a professional bodybuilder as there can be because, you know, number one is business because I have to provide. Number two is family. I'm a professional bodybuilder. That's still number three as a hobby. It's a hobby. It's not what I financially support my family on. So therefore, it's a hobby. I might be professional. I might be pretty good. But I still view it that way because that is not what's going to be there when I'm done. My family will be. My business is going to have to be. So, you know, as long as you prioritize the things, you'll enjoy the bodybuilding portion a lot more because it is not your be all end all. It is not your only thing. You have to have something else to focus on. Otherwise, you will burn out and you'll have nothing to fall back on.
So do you think that's why a lot of people fall out of this sport so quickly?
Yes. Well, that and the fact, like I told you, you know, you can't rush results. You know this. You've been working your ass off. You've been working your way up, gaining through weight classes. You know, when people tell you you should do classic physique because you're not big enough yet. Well, so what? I started as a middleweight. I was 5'9", 173 pounds. I won my first show because I was shredded. And now I compete 70 pounds heavier than that, even more shredded, and have come in more balanced. That's taken me 14 years, Lorenzo. So that's the thing. I mean, yes, people, I think they get into a sport they can't afford. Number one, you got to have a business, you got to have some sort of lifestyle to be able to support this because we know it's not cheap. Number two, you cannot rush results. It takes time to build muscle no matter what. You try to rush those results, you're going to have health problems. And then even when you stop, you know, like me, okay, I've done the majority. Sure, we use supplementation for the sport. We understand that. But the majority of everything I've built has been on food and training. So when I stop, I can guarantee you that I'm going to hardly lose any amount of muscle tissue because it's dense, solid tissue. It's not built on drugs. It's built on hard training and nutrition. And that is longevity, Lorenzo.
When I stop, nobody in the gym notices. You know, nobody's like, you know, people are gonna comment like, "Hey, did you get smaller? You know, what happened?" You know, nobody makes that comment. So that makes me confident in the fact that I don't rely on drugs as well. And I think that's a good way of doing things moving forward because, like you said, you know, so many people fall out because they rush results. And I see it myself. You know, I see a 25-year-old freak and I think to myself, you know, what the fuck am I doing that, you know, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And most of the time it's the X, Y, and Z. And I'm not
Most of
doing.
the time, I mean, don't jump to conclusions with people that we don't know. We
Yeah,
don't
no,
know exactly
no.
what's going on. But I agree with you in that aspect. It's like, okay, you know, I mean, some people are the genetic freaks and they can do that, start training, all of a sudden blow up. The majority of us that, especially when we started, you know, maybe we're a little bit more kind of on the ectomesomorph side where, you know, again, I started at 173 pounds shredded. I'm not meant to be a big guy. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of eating, a lot of training to try to slowly gain every year. And I pretty much gotten probably pretty close, even though my shape and structure might be changing in a good way. I pretty much reached the top of my genetic potential as far as my body doesn't really, it's not meant to be bigger. It's not really going to get much bigger. So I'm working on that shape. You know, I'm doing my vacuums, keeping my waist tighter. You've seen a difference. I brought my waist down. I control my breathing. I diaphragm breathe better than belly breathing now. So my transitions between poses is much more fluid and natural. I can control things a lot better. So again, I can only control the things I can control. And those little details are things that are making the difference in my physique now.
So now that we touched up on that, do you think that, you know, adding those extra 5 to 10 pounds wouldn't make much of a difference, but would maybe kill you, like literally, while these little things that you just mentioned might seem like you improve those 5 to 10 pounds without adding them? Like, you know what I mean? Do you think that's...
I know exactly what you mean, and that's 100%
Yeah.
true. I cannot put on 5 to 10 pounds, I don't believe, Lorenzo. I mean, seriously, I might be putting on 1 to 2 pounds every year, which is not much. I mean, really, it's not much. To have to gain 20, 25 pounds in the off season to put on those 1, 2 pounds, I'm talking about 20, 25 pounds still in shape. To put on 1 to 2 pounds, I mean, it would take me forever to try to put on those. And I'm not willing to push the limits to even try, but I don't even know if I could. You know, I mean, we reach a genetic potential that, like, okay, I don't know what else I can do. So yeah, now streamlining it and trying to basically work on the tight, fine details and making sure conditioning is there, number one. Those things I can control. And I think those have made a big difference in my physique to where I look a lot bigger than my body weight.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because, and I wanted to ask you about that, you know, what made you like, where did you look for information like on how to, you know, streamline your, because back in the day, like you remember probably yourself, like 10 15 years ago, nobody was trying to streamline their waist, you know, they thought it's impossible. So explain to people how it is possible, because you did it.
Yeah, I mean, really, and I give credit. I've given credit to 𝗥𝗢𝗖𝗓 in many of my posts that I've done in the past, because I saw 𝗥𝗢𝗖𝗓 doing vacuums about 1.5 years ago. And he was talking about doing core work. And, you know, I never really put a lot of focus into that. I didn't really know much about it either, you know. So I reached out to Juan, and Juan is just a class act. 𝗥𝗢𝗖𝗓 is such a good individual. So Juan, I reached out and I was like, you know, Juan, what are you doing? You're saying you're doing core stuff every day. He said, really? I'm just doing vacuums. And so he sent me a video. He sent me a video of doing the vacuums, and I immediately started doing those vacuums. And once I get started closer into getting leaner and getting closer to shows, my waist started getting smaller and smaller. My obliques. See, this is the whole thing. You know, people, like, if I turn to the side, yeah, I don't have a big waist. I don't have distension. But if I'm standing from the front, normally your hip structure is going to be your width of your waist. Well, doing the vacuums repeatedly, I was able to pull in my obliques beyond inside my hip bones just a little bit, but it dramatically enhanced my taper. So just training the transverse abdominal muscles through vacuums, and I'll explain what I do, which is out there. 𝗥𝗢𝗖𝗓's done it, but I'll explain what I do. But being able to do that, the transverse abdominis muscles have actually tightened up around the obliques. And I literally, when I'm in a front double bicep or a front relaxed, I look like I have no obliques, where I used to have what I would call muscular love handles, because it really was obliques and it looked like they were love handles, but it was solid muscle. But because there was the transverse abdominis sheath was not tight enough to hold that in, I didn't know that you could bring it in. So this is all I do, and it's very simple. I do it 7 days a week, year round, and I started about 1.5 years ago. Normally it takes only about 5 minutes. So I wake up in the morning, I go to the bathroom, and the first time I started doing this, my wife thought I was having problems in the bathroom because she heard me breathing. But so I go to the bathroom, and after I go to the bathroom, I check my scale weight. This is just basically what we do. And then I start vacuums. And I used to run through 10 rounds of vacuums. Now, between 3 to 5, as long as I can still draw it in as much, I'm good to maintain it with that. But I started doing 10 rounds of vacuums, and I would try to hold every one for 20 seconds. So all I do is I'll take a breath in, let all the air out, and then draw my abdomen in without inhaling any air and try to hold that for 20 seconds. And then when I come out of it, I try not to just come out of it and let my belly just start breathing in and out. I'll try to control my breathing up and down through my diaphragm to basically train those muscles to stay tight. And then I'll take a couple breaths and I'll do it again. So I try to run through 10 rounds of that. Now, most of the time, I only have to do it like 3 times every morning because I'm getting the same retraction. So I know the muscles are staying tight. So now it's more about maintaining. But at the beginning, I had to do 10 rounds, try to hold each one for 20 seconds. And it was tough, but it got easier and easier and easier. And now, I mean, yeah, now at a higher body weight, I'm able to keep my waist tighter. So those are the vacuum exercises that Juan Morel shared with me, and it's made a difference in my physique. So again, I'd rather help others. I'm not trying to hide anything. I would like to, help people with information I've learned over the years. I mean, that's what we do. That's our way of giving back. And I follow John Meadows' path in that because he's somebody that I truly, truly respect and want to emulate in my life or my life after bodybuilding.
So you never really had this tension, like you said yourself. Like I never noticed, like at any point on stage in your career that you let your gut hang out. But why do you think that happens? Because there was a lot of talk, and right now I think that problem is nearly eradicated. You almost see no professional bodybuilders on stage with a gut anymore. So why do you think that ever happened with guys, and what do you think made the change in the last few years?
Well, I really think it was completely to overeating. I've heard plenty of people talk about insulin and growth hormone. I've never been really an advocate of insulin. Anytime I ever tried, I felt like I got more watery than anything. I didn't feel like it made a difference. But even still, I know Dorian says when he did it, that's when his waist started getting bigger. I guess I've never used it for a long enough course of time to see if it really does that. But again, like you said, I never had any distension problem. As far as the growth hormone, no, I don't get out of hand with it, but I don't believe that does anything to building into the organs or enlarging your intestines. I don't believe any of that shit that people have talked about. I believe it is people trying to overeat, stretching out. Maybe they're, stretching out the fascia tissue, around the stomach, through the intestines. Intestinal distress is going to cause distension. But like I told you, even if you're eating a tremendous amount, if you're doing your vacuums, you're going to keep those transverse abdominis muscles tight. And I don't think people trained core. I don't think people did that back in the day. They thought just rectus abdominis, right? I do 2,000 sit-ups a day like they were talking about back in Arnold's day. Yeah. Well, that's still not training the transverse abdominis. That's your rectus abdominis. So if you're not drawing the waist in, you're not going to keep those muscles tight. Therefore, you'll have distension, especially when breathing. So I think it was basically boiled down to a lot of people thinking that they had to pound a tremendous amount of food, where I think a lot of people have learned from like Kevin Levrone and stuff that you don't need to eat. You don't need to be in such a calorie surplus to where you gain a bunch of shit weight. I know there was other bodybuilders that like to do that because they like to eat shit food. But, I think when you realize you don't have to be in that much of a calorie surplus to build muscle tissue, I think people started being like, okay, this is more comfortable anyways. So, I think, the judges, if they're going to knock distension, then I think people are going to put more of an attempt to keep that tighter and do the things maybe they didn't do in the past to make that improvement. But I think it had to boil down to like really overeating or being so relaxed or not even posing practice enough. I don't think it boils down to any drug usage.
Dude, if it was up to insulin and growth, like 𝗥𝗢𝗔𝗚 would have the biggest gut ever.
Right.
Yeah, true. He said it himself. Like, come on, if it was insulin, I would have he had perfect abs. Like, he probably had one of the best midsections the sport has.
Yeah, on a big man, I agree.
So it's like it's a moot point. And what I think it is, a lot of it comes down to poor digestion and poor like food intolerances, like people eating gluten and too much chicken or protein, like things that don't agree with their stomach. That's for one. Right. And it might be insulin, but for loading up for a show. like where guys use too much to, to get fuller, and they have to eat a lot of, sugar and stuff. And again, it doesn't agree with their stomach, and then they might have distension. But, that's in my opinion. But other than that, like you said, it's probably a little bit of laziness as well, where the people just didn't train their TVAs.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Digestive intolerances, and like we talked about, like I said, people trying to slam food. Again, you can't wait to try to fill up in the end, because your gut's not going to be handle that after 12 weeks of eating smaller portions. It's going to so you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, you broke up for a second, but yeah, you basically just agreed.
All I was saying, Lorenzo, is you're right. You're right with that point of, I think, people trying to eat too much and causing digestive issues because of it and causing the distension.
Yeah, basically. So we are on the road to Chicago Pro. We are like what?
Yes, sir.
Eight days away, 9 days. Like what is it now? I think
Yep, I think 9 days. I leave in a week from today. So yeah, I leave on Thursday.
yeah. So going in, like the show is packed. It's the last qualifier of the year. There's a lot of good guys with Justin Rodriguez, and even the new freak on the block, Nick Walker, and all those guys. So what do you expect coming out from this? Only the winner gets to qualify, so that's the only way to the Olympia. So what do you expect going in?
I know. I think I'm pretty sure Sergio's doing it as well. I think, from what I've heard or maybe seen. And I'm a fan of a lot of those guys' physiques. Obviously, I've competed with Justin Rodriguez many times, and I'm a friend with Justin. I like his physique. He's improved a lot of things, bringing his conditioning, which has been one of his downfalls. I think the only time I beat him was when his conditioning was not what it was, because he has some better body parts than I do. Again, I can pick apart bodybuilders a little bit here and there, but I think based on what we've seen, I think conditioning is going to be the standout for the way that they're going to be judging. Nick Walker's big, Akeem Williams is big. Between if they're going for basically size, okay, who's going to have the best condition there? The only thing I can bring is my conditioning and my symmetry, which I think is as perfect as it can possibly be. If guys are out of shape, I always beat them because of that. Now I think my symmetry's improved even more, and I think all the judges have seen us quite frequently. Maybe not Nick Walker, but I think the judges have seen us quite frequently to see who has improved, and most of the time they're supposed to be rewarding improvements. It is what you show up on that day, but if you're good and you're improved and you're better than somebody else, then it should be rewarded that way. I see, all those guys are good guys. I beat Akeem, and he's beat me most of the time because he didn't nail his conditioning. I feel like I probably have one of the best densities of a back out of the group, where, I think Nick's young, needs a little bit more back density. Again, I'm not trying to nitpick or call bodybuilders apart, but as far as from the back, his arms bicep peak is tremendous, doesn't have a lot of back density. So, if the condition is there, maybe the lines and the density will look even be better. So I know it's going to be a tough show. I'm going in to bring my best. Like I said, that's all I can control. I'm bringing in my best. It will be my best. I placed pretty well before. I have beat some of these guys, and if they're off, I might beat them. I think there's a good chance that I could finish top 3, which I have in a lot of my shows, and based on symmetry and condition. But it's gonna be a stacked show with myself, Sergio, Justin, Nick, Akeem. I know I'm missing other people. I'm sorry, but those are the names that I'm most familiar with, have competed against, know some of their weaknesses possibly, and I'm bringing my strength, which is my conditioning.
So basically, what you're trying to say is that you're the white version of Dexter Jackson.
I am. And, you know,
Yeah.
George Farah, I mean, really at one point, George Farah said that he hasn't seen anybody as shredded as me since the razor was a blade. You know, and basically comment like that. Sergio called me the Great White Hope at one point after my fourth placing in the New York Pro. You know, basically saying that, you know, I mean, if you want to basically be a good white bodybuilder, you have to look like Josh Wade, meaning like Josh Wade or Branch Warren, meaning that the density of the muscle, that freaky grainy dryness that is different that you get from, you know, from the dense long time training, you know, the Great White Hope. I joke with him about, because I actually like that. I'm good with that. So that's, I mean, yeah, that's all I could bring is as shredded as possible, making sure that I have enough fullness to fill out my body parts without blurring any lines. And I'm way ahead of what I've ever done in the past with this.
Yeah, basically you just have to catch people slipping, you know, and you're in that, like, you're a perennial top 5 guy most of the time. Like, you're rarely ever out of top 5 lately, you know. So I don't know, maybe at last year's New York Pro, but that's really about it where you placed out of top 5. I don't remember any other show in the last few years where, other than the Olympics.
If you get me under with you know, good lighting and the judges not being set so far apart. So again, I'm not the biggest guy. I'll never be the biggest guy, but I'll almost always be the most conditioned. So if they can't get a view of that condition based on their seat placement or their lighting, they're going to be judging more on silhouettes. And on silhouettes, I don't have the best shape, and we know that. So on silhouettes, I'll lose. If you can see symmetry and conditioning purely, cleanly, I do a lot better.
Do you think that's what happened in California last year? Because you remember that I wrote that review where I had you either winning or second at worst. So, you know, like, do you think that's what happened when Patrick won last year?
No. The pictures spoke for themselves. I don't think you were there. You saw the pictures, right?
Yeah, I was there.
So no, the pictures spoke for themselves. I don't, you know, I don't like to be controversial, so I don't like to call anything out. But, you know, I mean, yeah, Patrick had a name going in, friends with Phil Heath, Chris Cormier was helping him. Great shape and structure. Obviously didn't have the conditioning and didn't even have the symmetry at that point. Very bright future. But at that point, do I feel like he should have beat me? No, I don't. But I mean, again, their judging can be on different things. They can be judging on shape. You know, so it wasn't lighting. The judges have good, the lighting I think was good. My tan was great. And their seat distance was right there behind the stage. They could see all of us clearly. You know, and again, I'm not going to badmouth anybody. I never will, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not trying to make excuses or badmouth anybody. But I don't have the biggest name, and I haven't had the biggest name. I don't have the biggest social media following because I'm busy and I don't have a chance to be on there all the time. And I think there is a lot into how people see coming people into a show and the hype that's coming into a show. And I just might not be that hype guy. And that's okay, because again, I do it for me. I do it for competition, but I do it for me. I want to see how much better I can be. I like to show up, and I mean, I like to bring my best. And, you know, I'm never really disappointed, you know, Lorenzo. I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, I mean, I'd like to have a pro win. Sure. I feel like I probably could have had a couple based on what people have said and looking at pictures, trying to be unbiased. But I mean, I think lighting plays is in play, but everybody should be in the same ball game when it comes to that. So I think as long as the judges get a clear view, they should be able to judge it, you know, non-biased, non-subjectively, just by what they see right there in front of them. And that's all I can hope for.
Yeah, for sure. One thing, you competed at the Olympia. What's that like? What's that like?
I mean, it is obviously a dream for us. It was You know, I mean, I was like a kid backstage seeing everybody. And I mean, I knew a lot of those bodybuilders. I've competed with them, but you know, Steve Kuklo is a good friend of mine, obviously All Max sponsored athlete. And he told me before I got on stage, he's like, just take a few breaths and calm down. And so I walked out there like any other pro stage. I did my thing. It wasn't until after I got off stage that my heart was just like racing. I was like, holy shit, that was Olympia. But I mean, it's the coolest thing, dude. I got an Olympia jacket. So anybody that talks shit about me or knocks me because I don't have a good physique, I don't have this, I have an Olympia jacket with my name on it, like you said, and that'll never go away. So no matter what, I've made it amongst the best bodybuilders in the world, and I can be happy with that.
That's crazy. Like that's my goal in bodybuilding, just to be on that stage one time in my career, whether I be 40 years old, 35, 30, doesn't matter. Like as long as it takes, that's what I'm trying to do. And you're one of my main inspirations because you showed yourself, like you don't have the greatest, you're not Dexter Jackson or Phil Heath, you don't have the greatest genetics on the planet, you still managed to get there through your hard work and dedication. So it's possible, you just have to chase it, I think.
You just got to keep working. You got to keep working, Lorenzo. You got to keep working. You know, I mean, every time is, you know, every meal and every training session is to get you better, make you benefit. There is one thing. I'm still the only person that's turned pro in a master's category that's made the Open Olympia.
That's true. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, you won your card at the 2016 Universe as master.
2016 Universe at 37 years old. And I mean, I turned pro at 37. Everybody wrote me off. Oh, he's never going to do anything.
That's true.
And I'm the only person that's ever turned pro in a master's category that's made the Open Olympia.
And you mentioned Instagram. One guy pushed you to be more active, and that's, I don't know if you remember, but Kevin Jordan gave you a shout out back in 2016.
Yeah,
pushed you to be more active.
Yeah, it was. Kevin Jordan, great guy. We're friends. I wish him happy birthday all the time. I've reached out to him just to say hi. Yeah, it was Vancouver 2017. And he saw me get overlooked at Kansas City big time. And then that's when he made a post. It was like, he is the blue collar bodybuilder. Go follow Josh Wade. And I think my Instagram went from 3,000 at that time, you know, probably climbed to 10, and it's not big, but I had like nothing before that. And so, yeah, Kevin, you're right, man. And I give Kevin a lot of credit. I was emotional. He made up me about just the blue builder just has been overlooked so many times, he said. I remember his post, and it means a lot that people think of me that way, because that's how I want to come across. You know, when people talk about me after bodybuilding, especially to my kids, I just want them to say he was a good guy. I don't even care if they say I was a good bodybuilder. Your dad, Josh Wade, was a good guy. And I get emotional because that's all that really matters to me. That's the legacy that I want, is to be known that I was a good guy. You know, that's all we have is integrity.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's all that you leave behind yourself, you know, like, you know, whether you're a good bodybuilder or not, you know, people are going to remember you by the type of guy you were. So yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point to make.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, Lorenzo, going into Chicago, my best.
Yeah.
Excited to see the outcome.
Are you going to win?
I've done everything I could. It's been one hell of a year.
Are you going to win?
I'm going to win. I'm going to win. The rest is out of my hands.
Yeah, but you're going for a title.
Of course. I mean, that's why we compete. We compete to win. Like Dorian said, I don't compete for practice. I've done everything I possibly can. Everything I possibly can, I've done. And I am coming to win that show. You know, if I don't, I don't. But I'm coming to win, of course. I believe that I can. I believe if some of those guys are off, I will beat them. And again, I know I'm bringing my best. And if my best is not good enough, then I won't win.
Very well put. And I don't think we can end on a better segment than that. I just want to give you a chance to give a shout out to anyone, you know, like your sponsor, your wife, whoever, and your last message before we go.
Yeah, I mean, Lorenzo, I've been an All-Max sponsored athlete for over 8 years now. 2020 has been a rough year. It's hit every sponsorship, every company. We've had to make cuts and sacrifices because of product sales down. But I mean, I'm still there. Number one, first and foremost, my wife, Shannon Wade. She is my rock. I might be a big guy, but she's my fucking rock. Her and my kids give me joy to come home to every day. That's my purpose in life. Find your purpose, guys. John Meadows obviously has been with me forever. He's a mentor, a brother, a friend. I love him as much as you can love any other man. And so those are the people that have been most influential. Dante Trudell, I'll speak again because he looks at my labs, he looks at my health, and he's so on my side. But obviously all those people. Number one, first and foremost, my wife and my family. Again, I have something to look forward to every day. If you guys find your purpose, you will have that much happier in life and be able to help other people. So guys, stay positive. Let's support each other. Bring the sport up. Don't knock people down. Just be there. Be there. I will always give you a hand up. I will not give you a hand out. You got to work for it, and I will be there to support you in every moment.
That's perfect. This was a great hour. Thank you for coming on. It was an honor to have you on, and I hope to get you back as soon as we can. Maybe after the Olympia, we'll see. When you have something to announce or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, Lorenzo.
Yeah. So that's about it, guys.
But Lorenzo, I've always appreciated your support.
Thank you. I'll always support the good guys in the sport. That's what I do. So thank you. And guys, that's about it for this week. Stay tuned for the next one, and bye.